Episode 7. The Sound That Replaced the Fire. Scene 1. Hammers at dusk.
The sun sank slowly over the heartlands. Ordinarily, this was the hour when the Dreamwilds exhaled. Birdsong softened into pauses, the wind learned a gentler grammar, shadows lengthened not as threats, but as invitations. The logic of waking loosened its grip, and the deeper rules, the ones of dream and drift, began to take hold. Fires would have been lit by now, stories would have gathered. Tonight, none of that happened. Instead, the clearing rang with work, wood struck wood, stone answered stone. The sounds did not collide or scatter, they returned, again and again, into the same measured interval. A hammer rose, fell, not hurried, not hesitant, certain. Lines had been marked earlier in the soil, pale against the darkening earth. Along them, figures moved with purpose, raising posts, setting boundaries where none had stood before. Fences took shape where paths had once wandered freely. No one argued. No one asked why the lines curved where they did. They built. At the center of it all stood Arkhon. He was backlit by the sinking sun, his form reduced to a dark silhouette edged with fire. One hand lifted, fingers slightly spread, then lowered. The rhythm adjusted instantly, faster here, slower there, a pause, a continuation. He looked less like a ruler than a conductor. And the orchestra obeyed. The music, if it could be called that, had no melody. It did not rise or fall with emotion. It did not invite participation. It measured time instead of expressing it. A pulse, steady, predictable, calming. The chaos of the day, fear, argument, uncertainty, had been bound into tempo. Each strike promised progress. Each repetition suggested control. From the edge of the clearing, the three watched. They were not asked to help. They were not excluded either. They stood apart, unneeded, unburdened. The dance lived in them still, untouched. But here, now, it was irrelevant. Thinksy listened, her light dimmer than usual. The sounds were almost soothing. But they left no space for improvisation, no silence to lean into. Lucy wrapped her arms around herself, comforted by the absence of conflict, unsettled by how quickly it had been replaced with motion. Teddy counted the beats before he realized he was doing it. The efficiency was undeniable. The system was already working. Above them, the last edge of the sun slipped below the trees. Night arrived. But it did not bring quiet. The hammer fell again, and again. The Dreamwilds did not drift into sleep. They marched gently, obediently, into a new rhythm. One not born of wind or wing or root, but of intention. Somewhere beyond the clearing, the fires went unlit, and for the first time in memory, the stories were not told.
Scene 2. The Quiet Pedestal.
The new home rose above the clearing like a promise kept too literally. Its terrace was smooth beneath their paws, clean and untouched by soil. From here, The work below appeared orderly, almost elegant, lines holding, angles repeating, effort reduced to pattern. They were, just as Arkhon had said, above it all. Teddy rested his forearms on the railing, eyes tracing the fence line as it grew post by post. He watched the corners carefully, noting where force transferred, where weight would settle. "It's sturdy," he admitted at last. "I would have turned that corner differently, but it holds." The words surprised him, not because they were generous, but because they were final. There was nothing left to adjust, no problem awaiting his intervention. The system no longer needed his mind. Below, the rhythm continued without pause. Lucy sat on the low step behind him, rubbing her tired paws together out of habit more than need. No one had asked for her help in over an hour. No cries, no disputes, no one seeking reassurance. "They're managing," she said softly, as if testing the sentence for truth. "This is what we wanted, isn't it? For them to manage." The silence did not contradict her. Thinksy leaned forward against the railing, chin resting on her paws. Her light was faint now, not extinguished, just withdrawn. She listened to the sounds rising from the clearing, the steady cadence of effort. "It doesn't feel like a dance," she whispered. Neither of the others asked what she meant. "It feels like a march." The terrace remained peaceful, too peaceful. They were safe from the dirt, safe from exhaustion, safe from being needed. Icons, preserved in stillness. Below them, life continued. Efficient, directed, untroubled by their absence.
Scene 3. When the watching changes hands.
The rhythm faltered. Just once, down in the clearing, Arkhon lifted his hand, the hammer stilled, the murmur softened into quiet. He turned slowly, deliberately, and looked up toward the new home. For a moment, his silhouette aligned perfectly with the light of the lanterns behind him. Centered, composed, he did not smile, he nodded. It was not a bow, not a gesture of gratitude or triumph, it was the nod of a colleague acknowledging a shift in duty. "Rest," his voice carried upward, calm and assured. "I'll take the watch." Below him, the community followed his gaze. They looked up at the three and waved. Brightly, sincerely. Gratitude flashed across their faces, unburdened and complete. Then, one by one, they turned back to their tasks, reassured. The work resumed. As the night deepened, lanterns bloomed across the clearing. Placed at precise intervals, symmetrical and steady, warm light pooled where Arkhon stood, where voices gathered, where decisions were made. The terrace remained unlit. The three stood together in the growing dark, their home vast behind them, their presence small against its shadowed face. From a distance, they might have looked protected. From farther still, almost irrelevant. The Dreamwilds slept more soundly that night than they had in a long while. The fences held, the paths were guarded, the rhythm did not falter. And somewhere between relief and loss, the role of the healer changed forever. The world no longer needed their hands, only their approval.